So before we get into episode 3, I just want to say thank you to all the likes, comments, subscribers, everyone that's joined the channel recently. We're very close to 11,000 subscribers now, and that is something that I never thought would be possible. So thank you all very, very much. But in episode 3, we're diving into September and October with NK Maribor to see how we got on. It's the start of our Europa Conference League phase, and well, we got a tough group. We got Nice, we got Hammarby, and we got Real Betis. But before we get in to see how those games got on, some good news as Tete got awarded Player of the Month, which was absolutely glorious for August, and a job well done from our striker. That did, however, lead our assistant manager to say he'd prefer him to Erling Haaland. Not too sure about that one. Now, let's go and see how we got on in the Europa Conference League. And our first task was to welcome Nice from France to Slovenia, where we were ever so close to a really good result, but an error from Jurg in goal gave Makoko an easy finish. 1-0 it ended, and we were so close to a really good point. Next up was easily the hardest trip of the group, an away game to Real Betis in Spain, but we took an early lead as Tete scored a wonderful finish after a good through ball from the left-hand side. But Real Betis then decided they were the better team than us, led by Vitor Roque on loan from Barcelona. Lovely finish from him to make it 1-1, which was very quickly turned into 2-1 to the home team as well. A run down the right-hand side, good little bit of hold-up play, nice cutback into the area in a shot that Jurg just couldn't deal with in that account. And Real Betis weren't done there. They wanted more goals. They were ruthless in this one. A run down their right hand side again, a little cutback on one more to the edge of the box, and a finish from a nice tidy position from Lo Celso, who ran this game pretty much, to be honest. Good football again as Real Betis came forward. They were sort of moving us around more than we ever get done in Slovenia. A lovely finish from outside the area. 4-1, a bit of a schooling. And that's the end of the highlights for the Europa Conference League so far, but you may be wondering, where's the game against Hammarby? A 0-0 draw away in Sweden wasn't dreadful. However, we were dreadful in front of goal. 11 shots with only 2 of them hitting the target. An XG of 1.46. The Hammarby goalkeeper did come away with man of the match, Warner Hahn getting a 7.7, but we were let down by our striking. Sort of 3 actually. Ojo, Repas and Tete all being subbed off in that game, but we could not find the breakthrough. So we end September on October with 1 point in the Europa Conference League. Not the greatest. But of course there was plenty of league action to catch up on as well, and Tim Horton and his mighty Maribor men were looking for redemption after those Europa Conference League games. So let's run a montage. So all in all, good league performances across September and October. Only that loss to Olympia really hindering us in the league. But there's one more game that we had at the end of the month where I didn't put the highlights in. A 12-0 drumming of a lower league Slovenia team in the cup saw us progress very comfortably into the next round. Now, we'll have a quick review of what things are looking like at the end of the season, and then as ever, a little bit of data analysis. So a quick review of results from September, October shows all over. It was pretty good. However, the Europa Conference League, we sit bottom of the group, going much better in the league and the cup. However, it wasn't all positive. An injury to Teen Suk kept him out for 6 weeks, but Verhovek did get man of the match, which was a lovely little touch. As ever, we will touch on data analysis, and that's what we're going to go into now. I feel like this is a bit of a shorter episode, this one. I've condensed 2 months into one video and maybe sped through it a little bit too much. But we are going to focus on the loss to Betis and the draw with Hammarby, both away in the Europa Conference League group phase. And we're going to have a quick look at something that I noticed when diving into the data and seeing what we can do to potentially correct it going forwards. The image on the screen is all of Benjamin Teta, our striker's passes received in the game away at Betis. You can see he was forced back towards the sort of halfway line was where he was receiving most of his passes. We are defending on the right, attacking to the left, and only 1 pass is received actually near their penalty area, which really isn't good enough. If we now transition into the image where he took on Hammarby, you can immediately see how much further up the pitch he is receiving passes. Yes, there's still not a great number of passes in and around the box, only 4 to 5 in this instance, but he's very much higher up the pitch receiving the ball. Even the majority of the passes aren't being received near the halfway line. They are beyond the halfway line and definitely moving into the Hammarby third. Now, obviously, there is a difference between Betis and Hammarby in terms of the level, and Betis played a slightly higher line. Hammarby were a slightly weaker opponent, but I do think that's something I'm going to need to look at moving into the future to understand how do we involve the strikers more. I've been messing around, as we're going to see very slowly. We'll transition into some more images here. The formations that I've been using, I've started to try and adapt what we're doing against different opponents, and we're also facing different formations, let's call them. 4-2-3-1 is the most common, but we're trying to see how a low block with 3 at the back or 5 at the back, however you want to describe it, matches up best against which formations. Now the 4-4-2 I feel like I've been very successful against in this save. We've only faced it a couple of times, but like we're developing something in that which is going to be really useful. But I feel like we do isolate our striker quite a lot, and I don't really want to change from an advanced forward because I like a pacey attacker unless we can get a target forward in where we have runners around him very often, which is harder to do in a 5-3-2 system. I'd think I'd prefer an advanced forward, but I'm always interested to know your thoughts down below as well. So let me know what you think we should be doing to potentially solve this problem, especially against the bigger teams which are going to force our strikers to stay deeper with a higher line of defence that they're going to impose. Well, I don't know. Hopefully you're enjoying this series. Please do let me know down below. I'm very excited to keep it going, and they take me longer to edit, they take me longer to put together, but hopefully you're seeing a bit more production value than just a classic video that goes all the way through with no editing. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.